Hi guys, Techalyzer here and Merry Christmas. So what I'm showing you here, it's what I want to do to my desk to get rid of all the, you won't see it, I'll probably edit in later, all the, as a matter of fact, I'll just show it, it's easier to do it this way. To get rid of this bullshit here, that's right, under the desk. It's been a lot of years since I had this under my desk. And what I had was some laminate flooring pieces underneath my desk, held by some brackets. And while they helped, they didn't look that good, and I just tossed them away during these months when I kept moving from place to place. And this is what I want to do, make some kind of gutters for all the cables behind. The length of these two combined will be greater than the length of the desk, but what I want to do is put them on top of each other, have the power wires and the power extensions in one of the gutters and the other for the data cables, kind of trying to separate them to avoid any interferences that might cause problems. I don't know if I'll succeed in that. I still have no idea. It's kind of a difficult thing to do. I'm gonna have to take out the whole desk and everything on it and all the wires and cables, and that's not gonna happen now, probably after New Year's. But what I want to show you is how to carve out incredibly fast and with very basic tools these shapes, some rounded corner rectangles. They don't have to be very precise. Actually, the second one I kind of just guessed it. You know, there's you just trace them. It's a couple of centimeters from the edge and these internal edges here. One mistake I did was making the outside edge only 1 centimeter, and it caused this crack here that I glued with the soldering iron. It looks like crap, it doesn't matter, it's gonna stay behind the desk, you know, but for this one I traced out double the width, 2 centimeter edge. So what you're gonna need is a knife. I don't know how, I always get a bit confused about this, different words in British English and American English. We call this a cutter here. I think Americans only use the term of knife, or I've heard X-Acto knife. I have no idea what an X-Acto knife is. We don't have that here. We have these segmented blades within these things called cutters that you just break off these segments with some pliers after they're used. This one's a bit, it's enough. They have to be fresh, and you're gonna have to keep breaking it because these blades have a habit of breaking their tip into the plastic. So what you need to do is trace, what I want to show you is how to quickly carve out basically shapes in plastic. It's quite thick. I think it's a couple of millimeters thick. You know, not the thinnest plastic you try to cut out. And what it will do is we'll use heat. If you try to do this on a cold plastic, you're gonna run into a lot of problems, including cracking and cutting your fingers. Quite funny, actually. I was using the knife with a lot of force, and the actual broken plastic piece sliced my finger At first I thought I did something wrong with the knife, seeing the blood and all, but actually the plastic cut me. So what you want to do is trace the edges of your shape with the blade, but not all the way through. So you may want to go over the outline 2, maybe 3 times. First time, really carefully, so you can sit on top of the line you traced. As I said, this one isn't, so it doesn't have to be so precise, so I'm off by maybe a millimeter on this side, and it's not going to be visible, nobody's going to see it, except for now when I'm making it. And these rounded corners are always so difficult. Don't put too much force on the blade at first. You just want to trace a little bit of a scratch that you're gonna later go over with the blade. You're kind of drawing with a blade at this point, not really doing much cutting. There we go, the third side, the third corner here. I am aware that there may be different kind of knives and techniques you can use to do this a lot more precisely, but as I said, this is just a thing of getting 3 openings in this thing. It's nowhere. It doesn't have to be precise. There's absolutely no need to be precise. If I needed this to be very precise, I would have studied a bit more, but I don't really care. And as always, be very careful when cutting towards you. After a few nasty cuts throughout my life, one of which made me lost part of my feeling in one of my index fingers, I think it's the one on the left hand, I finally learned the lesson. And now that you have this line traced, now you're gonna have to go a bit harder on it the second time. Watch out, as sometimes the blade tends to run out of the line. There, the tip broke, especially in these rounded corners, and that's where it happens. There we go, it snapped out of the trace, initially traced, breaking the blade, so we can have a nice cutting edge. Basically just carving these lines. The idea is to have, if you know, those things are pre-carved, like when you have a packaging and you just snap it along the lines that it's been carved a bit. That's exactly what we're doing here, so don't try to apply so much force as to go all the way through, because you're gonna cut yourself, you're gonna break the piece of plastic, and things are generally gonna be nasty. Just a little bit of force. I'm just trying to force the plastic to have a bit of indentation there. I don't know if that's the right word, and I don't care. It probably is indentation. It's like kind of like something pushed through, and then gonna go break it again. The tip broke again. I'm almost also not being very careful right now. Well, I'll be damned. That took off a completely different path. Oh, okay. Right, the third time. A bit of the corners. I won't do all three of them. Of course, I do it myself, but on the camera, we'll do this first section here. And here's where the fun part begins, because now we're ready to apply heat. I don't have a heat gun, so I'm gonna have to go to the stove. Okay, so here at the stove, which is a little bit of dirty, but I'm currently cooking some food, so I will have to be excused. Use one of the smallest burners, so you don't, light your plastic on fire, and just kind of follow along the lines you just cut. Slowly, but don't keep it into one. Don't keep it in one spot, because that will melt the plastic. You might want to try this on a test piece of plastic, because it takes a bit of practice until you'll know which is the right temperature. There are different kinds of... I'm not going to continue this because I'm going to have to move the camera back. You need to act quickly. Preferably you want to have the knife with you in the kitchen. You'll see it gets a bit floppy. Bending a bit. Darkening of the plastic is definitely not a good sign. I would say about 4 or 5 times on each side. 4 or 5 complete loops. I might do one more. And then quickly grab the knife, and this is when it will pass through the plastic, and you can drag it along the line, and you'll cut just like you'd cut through cheese. It's that easy. Look at this. It just goes straight through. It feels precisely like a piece of cheese. Of course, it begins to harden. The fourth side as well. You'll notice I left the rounded corners. It's hardened now, so I'm gonna have to go back to the fire. Just this outer edge this time. Always move the plastic. Don't leave it in one spot. That would increase the temperature dramatically, and it will melt. Oh, that melted a bit right here. It's just a bit deformed. You can raise it with your hand. Ouch. See, that's what happens. Doesn't matter because it hardens. You just keep it up a few seconds, it will go kind of back to its original shape. And then start cutting through it again. And then pop the corners. Just push it through. And there you go. Plastic is out, shape is carved. Again, as I said, I don't care about these edges. all bent up like they are now. If you do care about those, I don't know, either a lot of practice or some other method for things that are not so precise, that don't need to be so precise, up to very precise shapes and dimensions. It works just fine. I cut out the piece of plastic. I'm gonna do it 2 more times, and I have my second cable gutter. That's all it takes. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.